celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Thursday, October 17, 2019, and here are some of today's trends in the news on the market front over there in Asia. Boop. It's mixed. Over there in Europe, it's mixed. Over here in the States, it's up. Not that much, but it's up. And gold up a tiny bit. Oil up a little bit. Bitcoin bitten a little bit. Where it's at. Nothing moving a lot today. Stocks rose on Thursday after strong earnings results from companies such as Netflix and Morgan Stanley. And investors also digested news of European Union and the UK striking a deal on Brexit. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with the Brexit thing. But on the earnings front, it's better than expected. More than 78% of the S&P 500 companies that have reported have topped analyst earnings expectations because a lot of them are buying up their stocks. Stock buybacks is still happening, and they're artificially propping them up. And what else do we have over here? That there's talk that the Fed may pause in its latest rate-cutting cycle, and we're going to see what happens more after the end of the month. And oil. Oil went up a little bit, and they're saying that oil rose on Thursday, boosted by a weaker dollar, and the announcement that the United Kingdom and the European Union had reached a deal on Brexit. You know what that is.
Absolute bullshit.
Absolute bullshit. The dollar's down a little bit. It's still near its March 2017 high. And Brexit, none of this is going to increase the sale of oil. And hopes of a potential U.S.-China trade deal also supported crude prices. The slowdown has nothing to do with the tariffs or a trade war. Even according to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, it only affects 0.8% of the global GDP. It's not a lot. So, oil prices are sluggish because it's a global slowdown. Gold rose on Thursday as weak data from the United States rekindled fears of an economic slowdown and as concerns surface over possible risks of a new Brexit deal. What are we talking about? This is stupid. That's CNBC. They keep repeating stupid little things that mean nothing. Gold hardly moved. It's about $1,491. It's still pretty solid. And again, gold prices, I believe, are stuck where they are because of the strong dollar. And what's keeping the economy going? The Federal Reserve Bank of New York injected $104.15 billion in temporary liquidity into the financial markets yesterday. $104 billion. You got it? Hey, don't call this quantitative easing. They're only dumping in another $60 billion a month to keep this disgusting Ponzi scheme going that's only enriching the rich. And what else do they have over here? The intervention came in two parts, blah, 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 blah. On Wednesday, the Fed also began buying large amounts of Treasury bills to help expand the size of its balance sheet. China's central bank pumps in $28 billion into the financial system amid fears of liquidity. You got it? They're borrowing all this money. All the gamblers are borrowing it. The banks are borrowing it. The hedge funds are borrowing it. The corporations are borrowing it. The debt bubble is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They keep putting all this fake money in. That's why gold prices, to me, are going to keep going up. One of the reasons. And they need more dough. What do? They lower interest rates as South Korea cuts interest rates to record lows in growth search. Oh, yeah, you're going to find it. Yeah, just keep looking for it, growth search. What language they use. The Bank of Korea cut its main policy rate by a quarter point yesterday to a record low 1.25% to shore up growth on an export-driven economy as it struggles with global trade fictions. And they're only going to have a GDP growth they're looking at about 2%. Again, the dollar is strong. Foreign markets are caught in dollar web. It goes on to say, because the dollar is one of those safe havens, it's being driven higher, not lower. The trade-weighted U.S. dollar index hit a record 131.58 in early September, and 1 month later is near that level. Again, the dollar is an asset unlike any other for one reason. Its position as the world's reserve currency that makes it the world's preeminent mechanism for world trade and foreign exchange. So what do we have? You have all these countries that currencies are going down and they have a lot of dollar debt. So the stronger the dollar gets, the worse shape these foreign countries are in, or I shouldn't say foreign countries, other countries, and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, slashes global growth forecast. You ready? After trade war batters confidence. IMF warns lower rates are fueling risk-taking. It's one thing after another. Persistently low interest rates encourage investors to take dangerous risks in a quest to maintain their financial returns, the IMF said yesterday. Low interest rates were supporting growth for now, but were putting growth at risk in the medium term, they said in the report. And as the IMF talked about slashing global growth forecasts, they also said with central banks having to spend limited ammunition to offer policy mistakes, they may have little left when the economy is in a tougher spot, said their chief economist. They're running out of ammunition. They're going to look for more fiscal policy now that the monetary policy is not working. The global big four economies of China, the United States, the Eurozone, and Japan will have no improvement in their growth rate over the next 5 years, the fund predicts. A lot more. Surprise fall in U.S. retail sales raises concerns over growth. American shoppers curbed their spending last month, raising questions about how much longer they can continue to support the economy as global growth falters. And you know where some of the big cutbacks came with? Auto sales. You look at auto sales around the world, they're slowing down. Eurozone inflation drops to lowest level in almost 3 years. Inflation isn't happening at a lot of levels because of my 5 O's. Overproduction, overcapacity. You got more stuff than you could buy. Online, you're buying it cheaper. Open markets, you get stuff everywhere. Overpopulation. You got a lot of workers that need jobs and you could pay them very little. Oversupply, overproduction, overpopulation, online, and open borders or open markets. The yuan 10-year challenge to dollar's dominance has faded. Again, going back to the United States being the world's reserve currency, the Chinese currency accounts for 2% of total foreign exchange reserves. The dollar is still used on one side of 88% of all foreign exchange trades. So yes, they're trying to weaken the dollar by getting rid of the petrodollar. Russia, of course, we've heard about what they're doing. They'll get paid in rubles or euro for their energy, and other countries as well, but they still have a long way to go. But if they get rid of the petrodollar, that's going to really hurt the dollar. Ford's Chinese electric car partner faces lawsuit over unpaid supplier bills. Chinese electric car maker ZOTI, which has a joint venture with Ford in the country, is facing a lawsuit over delayed payments to a supplier, blah, 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 blah. Subsidy shakeup hits China's electric car sales. New energy vehicle sales in China, the largest car maker, fell for the third month in a row as a slowdown in the overall market expands to electric vehicles. After cuts in subsidies, electric car sales, and for hybrids as well, fell 34%. Harley has electric bike setback. Livewire owners have been able to charge their bikes through standard wall outlets, but they're not doing very well. The bike can handle about 140 hours of urban riding on a full charge. Questions also remain about the durability and reliability of electric motorcycles. I've been saying that the electric car industry has a long way to go. We've been giving one example after another. We had Dyson last week. They're not a sophisticated component. The battery was invented in 1800. Something new has to happen. So we don't tell you what to invest in, but if you want to invest in those, knock yourself out. We don't give financial advice. Credit card rates soar as family debt rises. Isn't that great? Yeah. Here we have negative zero interest rate policy, and these slimy low-life politicians did away with the usury laws and let these criminals charge 17% on credit cards, while the big guys borrow for nothing, while they shaft us. Get back to work. All you are is a worker on the multinational plantation of Slavelandia. I don't want to hear any of your baloney. We'll take everything we can from you. We are the plantation owners. Yeah. The hedge funds, the big multinational companies, the military-industrial complex. You're a nothing. And they make it really clear. And interest rates on private labeled credit cards, which can be used for only certain stores, they're charging 27.5%. And moving on to some other international news. Mexican union leader resigns. A longtime leader, Mexican Powerful Oil Workers Union, resigned Wednesday amid corruption allegations. No kidding. He was only there for 26 years. Madrid calls on Catalan leaders to condemn violence. And Madrid calls on Catalan leaders. They just put these people in jail. Like 9 years, 13 years, 15 years for wanting their independence. And now you're seeing this violence erupt, and the same thing is happening. You're having these massive protests of people that don't want to be a part of that corrupt government. You're not allowed to protest for your freedom by the millions. And you have these agents provocateurs, all these guys all the time, dressed in black, in great shape, throwing a Molotov cocktail here, smashing windows there, setting fires there, and they put the whole movement under that. That's the disgusting corporate government media that's running the world. And that's why you subscribe to the Trends Journal, to get the real information, the real facts, history before it happens, not the delusion that they're selling us, the crap that they're shoving down our throat. That's all they are, agents provocateurs. And what else do we have? 9 killed in rally against president in Guinea. against the president. Again, we're saying this, we're showing you this, what's going on around the world. It's global unrest that's going to get really unrestful when the greatest depression starts taking a deeper hit. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it, and they're losing it. South Africa to suffer further blackouts after plant failures. Outsider stuns Tunisia elite with landslide presidential victory. So there's positive stuff. And this guy hardly campaigned. But the other guy that was running, Mr. Salad, ran as an independent. This is the guy that won, candidate, and barely campaigned. Mr. Kaori, this is the guy that was heading to Tunisia before, who faces charges of money laundering and tax evasion and was imprisoned 3 days before the vote. Chile threatens blockade against Venezuela. Isn't that great? Why don't you mind your own business? Now, we're not going to mind our own business because Chile's hardening stance towards Venezuela comes as the new president is center-right, takes on stronger leadership role in the region. Chile's foreign minister has vowed to work with allies to cut off Venezuela's communications, shut down its airspace, and implement a naval blockade. Can you imagine this? Why don't you mind your own damn business? And the disgusting politicians of America. All you low-life, slimy little liberals, and of course, you're not subscribers to the Trends Journal. House Dems unanimously vote to condemn withdrawal from Syria. Isn't that terrific? In a Wednesday vote, the House overwhelmingly backed a resolution expressing opposition to end the U.S. war in Syria. And Nancy Pelosi argued that Congress not only has a right to be informed, but should be able to make decisions on national security. This is Nancy out of her mind Pelosi when Congress has not taken responsibility for voting to go to war and giving the power to the president since World War II. Former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, along with Samantha Power, two of the lady hawks that wanted that Assad out of there, and Obama agreed with them, she said, what Trump did is Trump's Saigon. Isn't that something? Yes, Saigon. Like we should have stayed in Saigon. Look at the disgusting people that are destroying this nation. Occupy peace? No. What's wrong with you, Celente? Democrats unanimously voted to condemn the withdrawal from Syria, where the United States is illegally there. And no, it had nothing to do with fighting and melting ISISes. All it had to do was overthrowing Assad, and the Kurds were mercenaries, as was Al-Qaeda and others that the United States brought in there with our money to get rid of Assad, and it didn't work. The Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama, bought you that one. And they're pumping up this guy, Buttigieg, boy. Big article in here. What a brave guy he is. Oh, these pictures of him with his weapons over there in Afghanistan. We shared, what do they say about this Buttigieg over here? Mr. Buttigieg's military service had been a ballast for his candidacy. An essential addition to a biography that, in addition to training on assault weapons, includes a Harvard degree, a Rhodes Scholarship, and a stint at that fancy consulting firm. Yeah, that elite firm, that McKinsey firm. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and banks. This guy is so arrogant with his military talk. I began to feel that I was part of the problem if I did not serve. Hey, guess what? You're part of the problem that you are serving. You served to go into a country that America had no right going into. This guy, to me, man, he is a deep state cat that they're grooming to move forward. Harvard, Princeton, Yale, one thing after another. Look at his background. Oh, is he arrogant? He goes on to say, it's something that I want people to know. It is an important part of my story and how I come at the world. I also don't want people to think I am flogging it, presenting myself as a Navy SEAL or a career war hero. My turn came and I did my part. And of course, he attacked Trump during the presidential reality show about withdrawing from Syria. And by the way, what Trump also did was he just sent 3,000 of American troops to Saudi Arabia. So let's not call this guy a peacenik. And also what he's done to Venezuela and Iran, it's an economic war of terror that he's launched against them. GOP Democrats rebuked Trump over Syria. And here's what Elizabeth Warren said. She said the United States should get out of the Middle East, but we have to be, quote, smart about what that withdrawal looks like. Hey, how about the withdrawal from Iraq? How about the withdrawal from Afghanistan? How about the withdrawal from Libya? How about what withdrawal? No withdrawals. Continuing war as they're going on now. And in the United States, the continuing war is also launched against we the people. You could go over to foreign nations, slaughter innocent people by the millions, spend trillions, and remember, please occupy peace if you wish to. But you better stay in line over here in the United States. Pointing a finger gun lands 12-year-old Johnson County student in handcuffs. A 12-year-old Overland Park girl formed a gun with her fingers, pointed at 4 of her West Ridge middle school classmates, one at a time, and then turned the pretend weapon toward herself. Police hauled her out of school in handcuffs, arrested her, and charged the child with a felony for threatening. A 12-year-old kid. We used to play guns all over the place when I was a kid. It was after World War II. And you listen to the crap from these stupid people. This is the spokesperson for the police. This guy Smith. And this is what Mr. Smith said. He said that, in general, pointing a finger pistol might violate the district's policy against intimidation and bullying. Quote, I might not have anything in my hand, but I might be clear that the individual definitely feels threatened. Do you know what that is?
That is bullshit.
You got it. What a gutless, disgusting country this is turning into. Look at the freaks and fools running and ruining our lives. When is it going to stop? The fish rots from the head down. And you look at the presidencies that we've had and the Congress, rotten fish from top to bottom. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.